What's up, y'all, my peeps, kings, and queens? Welcome back to the channel. I hope y'all are having a good day or night. It don't matter wherever y'all are. I hope y'all are having it. Yo, so this a little video I wanted to do real quick. A little fragrance 101, some fragrance tips, some little things that I personally do. And I just wanted to come on here and give y'all some good, I guess, advice or tips on, fragrance and stuff like that. Some do's and don'ts, pretty much. So for right now, we're gonna start with the do's. If y'all see me looking down, I got my little notes over here. So first things first, for the do's, I would say spray it correctly and applying it correctly. So for me, when I do a fragrance, I typically do like 1, 2, and then I do behind the ears 3, 4, and then sometimes I do down the chest. Sometimes I just like to bring it down here. You mainly get most of your heat up here, but I sometimes bring it down here. That's just me. But it's just a nice way to kind of evenly distribute the fragrance around so that it just kind of, you smell it from every angle, if you get what I'm saying. Another thing with that, with spraying it, like if you're say smelling a fragrance, right, like that, try to waft it around or try to like wave it so you can actually get the notes in the fragrance. I see people often rubbing it, and that is not the way to do it because you screw up the whole fragrance whenever you rub it. Like, don't. And it's funny because it's so triggering to see it, because it's like you're ruining the fragrance instead of actually taking it and letting the fragrance kind of develop. So that's one tip I would say, is just spray it on your post points, just like the heat areas, neck, ears, and maybe around the chest where the collarbone is. So that's where I would say. Next one is applying a good base for a do. Applying a good base, maybe like petroleum jelly, or like a oil of some sort, like a body oil, or a lotion. Either or is fine. I like to switch up and mix up, because applying a good base like an oil or a lotion or something like a grease can kind of help the fragrance last a little bit longer. So it can kind of get you a little bit more better performance than if you didn't do that at all. And so it's just kind of cool to do that before you actually apply your fragrance. So something like that you can do, like when you hop out the shower, go ahead and start, applying your lotion or whatever you do. After you do all of that, then go for a fragrance. So I would say a good base, a good base. So next one after that is like mixed smells. So applying one on top. So say for instance, like a fragrance where you wear, but then you want to add another fragrance on top. That's fine. Just make sure they kind of mesh together before you actually do that. Because some smells just don't mesh together, and you kind of smell like a hot mess after a while. So just make sure before you do that, kind of spray it to see if it works. And if not, then whatever. So I would say do that, because sometimes you can have fun with fragrances and like bringing out different smells and different aromas. And so I would say definitely mix scents and just have fun. Next one, I would say experiment fragrance with the seasons. So what I mean is, say for instance, it's a fragrance that you have that say like a cold, like this. Maybe wear it for like the springtime. Now, I would say something like this may be a little heavy. So, cause I get that some fragrances like this, like fall and winter fragrances, can be a little bit too much for like the spring and the summer months, but maybe something like Paco Rabanne XS, I feel like something like this can most definitely be worn in maybe the spring, sort of where it's sort of shifting to cold to like a warm weather, because it still works. I would say definitely fall and winter fragrance for sure, but I feel like this definitely can play off on the spring. I don't know about summertime because it may be a little too hot. Now, if you apply it lightly, then maybe you could pull this off in the summertime. But this one, I know for a fact, may not work because this one is just very, very, very rendery. So it depends. I would say definitely depends on the fragrance, because some kind of work, some kind of don't. And then also maybe like a hot fragrance typically for like the cold months. So this one, you know, Versace Red Jeans, this is more rose scent. It has more of like a rose scent. So something like this, I could definitely see being worn in maybe the cold months. So winter, fall, stuff like that, because it can give off more of like a brisk or like a frozen rose rather than like a fresh or aromatic rose, and it just can smell very different in a way, if that makes sense. So it can just kind of come off more of a different rose, as I said, than intended. So I would say that's definitely something to do. A next one, last but not least for dudes, is experiment with perfume and cologne. So men and women, you know, some can smell unisex. For me personally, I like to do that. I know some perfumes can smell way too feminine for guys liking. I understand that. I totally get that. And vice versa, some smells for women can smell a little bit too masculine when it comes down to cologne. So definitely I understand, but it's good to experiment with different gender smells or different smells, period, as far as genders. Because some can smell very nice and kind of come off unisex, where a male or a female can wear them and pull it off. So it's just good to have fun, like I said, and just enjoy fragrance and, you know, enjoy different smells. So some don'ts. We moving on to the don'ts. So don't spray anywhere, everywhere, and then close to a limit. So when I say anywhere, everywhere, like you don't necessarily have to spray on your hand, your legs. Like I would say also hair. I was about to say you don't have to do hair, but no, hair is good too. So spraying it on the hair can also work out, because you have heat that's kind of on your hair and it's always hot. So it's always hot up here. So applying a little bit of fragrance up here on your head or hair can sort of bring that out as well. So yeah, but back to the whole everywhere, anywhere. So yeah, just don't go too crazy. Like you ain't got to do it over here in your arm, and like just apply it to where heat distributes the most. And that's where you will get most of your fragrance performance out and wear. So, and then clothes to a limit. I know some people will kind of spray it on their clothes. I would say kind of go a little light on that, because when you go to another fragrance or go for another fragrance, and then you go pick out some clothes, well, that fragrance is still going to be there for the most part. So you just kind of want to limit that. And sometimes it can just be a little bit too much when you have a fragrance and then a fragrance on the clothes that you just worn or just applied, and you just got fragrance everywhere. So yeah, next don't is overdoing it too much, too many sprays. And yeah, so overdoing it, too many sprays. So you just going crazy. You just take the cologne and you just no, nah. It don't take all of that. It don't, you know, just a few sprays to where you don't smell so overpowering. Just when you walk in the room, it's just boom, fragrance. Because I know some people can overdo it for sure, to where it just smells just too strong, too much. And you just risk giving people headaches, if I'm being completely honest with you. You risk giving people headaches and just wanting to run out the room because you smell so doggone strong. The fragrance you have is strong. And don't let it be something like this, where it's like a winter, fall, strong scent that is made to, you know, last and pop. This can be a way too overpowering when you go too heavy, too heavy. So just keep in mind, not overdoing it and doing too much. You know, you want to just do a little. Sometimes a little goes a long way when it comes down to fragrance, sometimes. And then also not applying a good base, lotion or oil. Like I said previously, applying a good base, oil, lotion, and or, like I said, grease. not applying it at all also. So always want to do that if you can. Apply a good base so that, like I said, your fragrance can kind of pop, last a bit, and you get that performance, or better performance. So just keep that in mind whenever you're applying a fragrance or about to apply a fragrance, that you just have a good base to lay down so your fragrance can kind of sit and kind of sink in and just pop. So also, don't think expensive is better. That's not the case. Sometimes expensive can also be worse, and cheap can be actually good. So sometimes cheap can smell better than expensive, and sometimes it's vice versa and switched. But don't always assume that expensive is better, because sometimes that's not the case. So just keep that in mind whenever you're shopping for fragrances, that expensive is not always better. Sometimes it's good to go cheap, or the cheap route. That's fine. That's perfectly okay. It's fine. You know, you don't have to overdo it. And then also, they make dupes of fragrances. So you can find dupes of many fragrances out there, where it's the expensive version and then it's a dupe of that expensive version, kind of like a clone. That's also an option. So just to keep that in mind. And lastly, but not least, for the don't be afraid to smell different and step outside the box. So don't be afraid to, buy different smells that you don't necessarily go for, or different notes in fragrances that you don't necessarily go for. It's good to kind of just, be different, step outside the box. And then also, it's just good to have fragrances that not everybody else has, if that makes sense. So smells and scents that not everybody else have. It's just good to just experiment as a whole. Like for perfumes, I have like perfumes that I sometimes wear. Like this one is Davidoff Cool Water Jasmine Tangerine, and this, for me, it's a perfume, but it smells very different. It smells just very sparkling. It just gives me like a sparkling type of vibe, and just a good, nice getaway. I would say a nice trip on a cruise. I would wear this, definitely. And it just smells very nice and somewhat different. So something like that can be good. So yeah, just don't be afraid to experiment. Once again, just don't be afraid to do that. But I wanted to give y'all a quick video of some tips and tricks. I hope y'all enjoyed. Make sure y'all support the channel. I know it's been a minute. I'm sorry. I apologize. Just, things happen. I'm trying to get, some things going. And so just remain patient with me, please. So I hope y'all enjoyed it. Make sure y'all have a good day or night. Make sure y'all check out my socials that'll be linked down below. And I will see y'all in the next one. All right.